Good morning. My name is Stephanie Ann Johnson, and welcome to Gator Kids Uptown. And this first tune to play for you all is Take My Hand, Precious Lord. We can't touch each other. Well, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me on. Help me stand up. I'm tired, I'm weak, and I'm old. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light and take my hand. Precious Lord, lead me on. Oh, the darkness, oh, the fear. And the night is drawing near, and the day it is past, and it will go. And the river I will stand, got my feet, won't you hold my hand, take my Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me on. Help me stand up. I'm tired, I'm weak, and I'm old. Through the sun, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand. Precious Lord, lead me on. Take my hand. Precious Lord, lead me on. Take my hand. Precious Lord, lead me on.
Thank you, Stephanie Ann Johnson. It's a joy to have you here and to feel your energy and hear your voice. And it's kind of been a friend along the way, I think, to all of us. So we're just happy to see you. And I know everyone online is feeling the uplift. So thank you. Well, welcome everybody. I've got two cameras here, camera one, camera two. And I just want to welcome you to the light and the love that is Unity of South Sound. And of course, my name is Reverend Jeffrey Fowler. I just want to joy to welcome you to our second online service. We're doing this for everybody out there, and just to connect us and lift us up. So we just want to remind you that in order to follow the advice of the healthcare professionals, we're doing this online to prevent the spread of the virus, to lessen the spread of the virus. We don't have an end date yet, but just to know that the board and myself are closely watching the situation, and we will notify you on our website, on our answering machine message, and via our e-blast when we decide to come back together and meet again in person. So if you have any questions or concerns, or you just want to say hey and share some joy and love with us, just give us a call at our office. During business hours, it's 253-301-0385. Or you can email us at office@unityofsouthsound.org, and we will get that message. We can call in remotely and hear it and give you a call back. So now we just invite you to just relax, reconnect, realign with that truth of who we all are. And if you'll join me, please, in saying our opening affirmation together. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the earth, God the good, omnipotent. And our mission statement. Inspired by the divine as an inclusive spiritual community, we explore and express our highest potential. And our vision statement: present and centered in divine love, we co-create a peaceful and awakened world. And finally, our core values. We are love, joy, abundance, and spirit guided. And as I said, the sun started to come out. It's a beautiful thing. So as I light this unity candle, I invite you to let it remind you of the divine light that is shining in you at all times. So let's just prepare for prayer together in this moment. In this space, we open our hearts and we open our minds to that divine light, to that divine presence of God, known by so many names. In this space, we open our hearts and we connect together wherever we may be. We know that although we are physically separate at this time, we are socially and spiritually deeply connected. For all is one in spirit. So we reach our hearts and our consciousness out to all beings, wherever they may be, anyone who may be struggling with this virus. We see them getting the help that they need, the support that they need. We see all the healthcare professionals uplifted and strengthened. We see all the facilities fully staffed with supplies. We see all the small businesses, all the individuals who may be struggling financially. We see them supplied and blessed with the flow of abundance that we can't fully understand with our minds, but we know as we align ourselves with the source of all things, that abundance is flowing. We send our love to anyone who may be affected or most vulnerable. We see them surrounded and immersed in the healing light of God. We see that light at work at every level of their being, bringing forth full wholeness and health. For we know that with God, all things are possible. So during this hour, we just gently release our cares and our concerns. We turn inward. We align ourselves with the divine, with that one presence and that one power. And we let it do its work in our life. And for this, we are so grateful. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. So it is. Amen.
So everyone, we're going to be singing from Wings of Song in case you have it floating around your home. Number 1 is praise God that good is everywhere. And we're going to sing it through twice. That way, if you don't know it already, you can listen and then sing with us on the second praise God that good is everywhere. Praise to the one we always share. The light that thrills in you and me. Praise to the truth that sets us free. Praise God that good is everywhere. Praise to the love we always share. in you. Praise to the truth that sets us free.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'd like to invite everybody, wherever you may be, in your home or elsewhere, to reach out to those who are nearby. And if you're comfortable, you can give them a namaste hug. If you would like, you can give them an elbow bump. You can bow and say namaste. So just take this moment to connect with the divine each other. I want to take a moment to also to extend this namaste outward to our entire Northwest region. So we send a big namaste to the Northwest region. We also send it to the United States of America. And we send it on out to the entire world. Namaste. We behold the divine in you. And I also want to just conclude with a big hug, if you will, to yourself, since we're having a hard time physically connecting with others. We just hold ourselves in love when we say, I love you. I hold you compassionately during this time. And I behold the humanness and the divinity you are. Namaste.
Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep inside and all around me, God in everything. I can feel you in my beating. God in everything. It's in every breath of life I take. God in everything. Join me. Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep in everything. It's in every stranger's face I see God in everything. Brother, sister, family, are we God in everything. Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep inside and all around me, God in everything. Mountain, valley, lake, and stream, God in everything. All creation, beautiful and free, God in everything. God in everything. God in everything.
Thank you, Michelle. So our inspirational reading today is from the Daily Word, short but sweet. It's from this time last year. It's entitled Rest. I do the work that is mine to do, and then I rest in faith. The Sabbath is not simply a regular day of the week. Charles Fillmore writes, the Sabbath is kept anytime we enter into spiritual consciousness and rest from thoughts of temporal things. Then we let go of the external observance of days, because every day is a Sabbath on which we retire into spirit and worship God. I honor the Sabbath by by ensuring that I set aside regular time in the flow of my life to rest in the presence of the divine. It's an essential part of the creative process. I do the work that is mine to do, and then I rest in faith, allowing the Lord of my being to complete the process within me. Then he said to them, the Sabbath was made for humankind, and not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. Mark 2:27-28.
I come to the garden, oh, what I would do is sit on the roses, and the holy silence on my ear, the sun of God is roses. Walks with me and he talks with me and he tells me the joy we share as we tell another as a he speaks and the sound of his voice is so sweet. The birds are singing about him, and he gave to me. He's and talks with me, and he walks with me, and he tells me I am his own. The joy we share as we tell as a I'd stay in the garden with you, though the night around me is falling. But he leads me home to a voice so low, his voice to me is calling. And he walks with me and he tells me his own, and the joy we share as we stand none other than the
Thank you again, Stephanie and Johnson. It's so neat to see Stephanie in the community. I was just thinking that when I went to first night, I walked into the Pantages Theater and I said, I recognize that voice. And I ran in the corner and there she was on the stage, the big stage, you know, and it's just a beautiful thing to see you at work and to feel that energy spreading to the community. So Stephanie is an amazing musician. We're blessed to have her. So today I would like to talk about this this time that we have, as the governor has kind of invited us to be inside and to stay at home as much as possible. Here we are in Inspire. You make an exception. Thank you, Governor. Just to think of this as a real opportunity for us to go within and to do our inner work. And so I really want to invite you to see it in that light, if you can, at this time, because these sort of rhythms, in a sense, were built into our culture for a very long time. If you go back to before we even had electricity, every single day, we literally had to slow down because it got dark and you couldn't see. I mean, even if you had a lantern and candles everywhere, you still had to kind of build it into your day that at this time, you're going to slow down every single day. If you think about the winter months, when we were primarily an agrarian culture, agrarian world, literally 2-3 months out of the year, you were kind of on vacation. I mean, it was very cold depending on where you were at. You could repair some tools and some structures, and you could go forth and feed the animals or chop wood, but basically you were part-time for about 2-3 months of the year, depending on where you were. And so if you look at this time, in a way it's kind of unfortunate that we have to get sick to kind of come back into this rhythm that we used to have every single year of our lives for thousands and thousands of years, right? So you can kind of see in a way how out of balance we have become at this time. So we really have this opportunity right now to kind of take a fresh look at our lives and to reassess and say, hey, how is it working? We can kind of step back and say, am I using my time wisely here on this planet? Am I following my passions? What are the sort of messages that are flowing through my mind each and every day, each and every week? Are they messages of love and positive energy, or are they messages of anger or sadness or fear? It kind of reminds me in a way of when I was young and my mom used to put me in the timeout chair. And this didn't happen a whole lot, but I would be running, playing, and then everything would screech to a halt, and I would be in this ugly green chair. And I'd just be sitting there, and I got a chance to literally just think about everything that just happened. And say, would I like to continue that? It was this amazing experience of everything just screeching to a halt. So that's kind of what I want to invite us into at this time, because it's a time of intense action on our planet. I mean, the way that we work today, we work more hours than we used to in the Industrial Revolution when they made laws against doing it. So we are going full steam today. And there's many things that can happen as we do this. The first thing I think that happens is it overtaxes our own mind. Our minds need some rest, because the mind is like a machine that is forever processing the external world, the sensory world. And every machine, you've got to turn it off sometimes and repair that machine and do some maintenance. So we got to rest those minds of ours. One of my good friends years and years ago, his name was Louis Anderjar. He had a girlfriend at the time, and she just loved to think all the time. And he said, do you ever just stop and relax and rest that mind of yours? And she said, Louis, my mind is a huge part of who I am. And I think probably all of us in some way have kind of started to believe that. And I remember thinking at that time that, actually it's not. And that's kind of the problem. That we have aspects of ourselves that are so much more than just our mind. It's sort of like, to me, like saying my car keys are a huge part of who I am. I mean, like, they're really important and they're vital. I mean, these car keys, they get me where I want to go. They make my car go. And my car has taken me to some amazing places, some beautiful places. They get me into my work, they get me into my home. But are they a huge part of who I am? Not really. They're an amazing tool, and they're one of many tools that I use. And all of us have so many other aspects of ourselves that are tools. We have psychic tools, we have intuitive tools, we have creative tools, we have interpersonal tools. There is so much more to who we are than just our mind. I kind of equate it to someone if we had explored many, many planets in the universe, hundreds of planets, And somebody said, you know, the only planet that exists is Earth. That's it. You know, it would feel so limited. One of the biggest breakthroughs that I've ever had in my life was at the very beginning of my spiritual awakening 20 years ago. And what I did was I found the off switch in my own mind. Found the off switch. And that was the most amazing experience of my entire life. And, you know, people like Eckhart Tolle and others, they say that they use the exact same wording. I found the off switch in my mind. And that was the breakthrough. Ram Dass said when he met his guru, it was the quieting of his mind. And that's sort of the beginning, in a way. It's almost like a chick hatching out of its shell, or a fish growing legs and beginning to step up out of the pond and walk on land. It's like a whole other world. And when we do this, it's like the peace that can start to come, the relief that can start to come, the expansion and the interconnectedness with life all around us. To me, it was like something that I literally didn't even know existed. Why? Because I was living in my mind all the time. And what was interesting was that my soul was developing. I mean, I was playing music, I had great friends and great relationships. I just didn't know this level of depth existed. It's interesting because it's like we think we know, but we don't really know until we experience it for ourselves. So these times, they really help us to do this, to go deeper, to calm that mind. Rabbi Ted Falcon, who's spoken here before, made the comment, he said, people like Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra, he said, they have entered into this state of consciousness, but a lot of the time they don't know how they got there. And I would kind of challenge that and say, I kind of think they do. You know, because I think about how I got there, and if you just do the simplest practice, if you just breathe in 4 counts, hold 4 counts, breathe out 4 counts, and hold 2 counts, and you did that like 50 times in a row every single day, you'd get there. You know, that mind would start to calm down. But we don't usually do that because it's not mindy. You know, what I just recommended is so not mindy. You know, you can pick up that book or that magazine or get on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. But you can do that, and that's back into the mind. So these sort of practices, it's a whole other aspect of ourselves that we have to start to develop. It's a different dimension. It's really breaking up out of that shell, chick breaking out of the shell. So we are emotional and spiritual beings as well. And I want to invite us into this sort of energy at this time, because our emotions can get really backlogged in this sort of frenetic pace that we're keeping. And over time, that can lead to depression and many other things. It's because we're really not making room for this crucial part of ourselves. All of those emotions, the anger or the sadness or the grief or the fear, start to get backlogged because our mind is going all the time. And eventually we kind of build this reservoir of unresolved emotions, and it can really lead us to depression and many other things that can come out in very unhealthy ways today. So why I think we see the school shootings, violent crime. Our emotions are not given a chance to have regular, daily, healthy expression in our lives. See, we've got a physical body, and this we can see, you know, it's pretty palpable. But we also have these other bodies as well. We have an emotional body. We have a spiritual body. And all of this put together, people have said over time, is like our aura. Now, what's interesting is I know in future years, science will one day be able to, just like we've got the physical body, they'll be able to show us on the screen, here's your emotional body. And look, it's really not real strong. And you've got some gaps here. We'll be able to probably send energy to it and feel like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And say, yeah, you weren't working that for like 20 or 30 years. Imagine if you didn't even feed your physical body for 1 month. You know, you might fall over and die. So we've got these emotional bodies that we really have to spend time with. They're starved. And so we have this opportunity to do that today. Now think about it in terms of like why people will use drugs. I mean, it's hard on the body, on the physical body, but it's that beginning way of getting a break from the mind. You know, But at what cost? It affects the body. It hurts the body. But if you think about it, the professions that are extremely intellectual, oftentimes there's high drug use, right? Or if you're an extremely intellectual person, I know a lot of times people that are very intellectual will drink a lot because it gives them a chance to get a break from that mind that's worrying and in fear mode. So we all have this emotional nature, but it's like we've forgotten how to access it in a healthy way. So I just invite you to do some simple things. You can get a picture of a little puppy dog, and oh my gosh, in just a second or two, you are already in a loving emotional state. And that just melts your heart. If we had PowerPoint, I'd throw some puppy dogs up there so you could look at it. It puts you in that deeper state. Or say, just begin to think of your favorite place in the whole world. Maybe it's a place where you love to camp. Maybe it's a beach that you love. Maybe it's where you grew up. But as you just tap into that image in your mind, you start to feel that emotional state of peace and love and bliss that starts to come up within you. It's sort of like I mentioned last week, when we just live this one-sided way in our mind, it's like we have this beautiful garden with all these wonderful flowers, and they all represent the different aspects of ourselves. But we're only watering one of those flowers in our garden, our mind, and we're letting all these other flowers wilt and die. See? Now, a couple tools. Just hang out with some kids. Oh my gosh, they are so in their emotions. And you can feel that right away. It's like you get this uplift because there's power and there's substance in the energy of emotions. Or do some art or some crafts. We just got a Zoom account for our ministry here. And if you need the username and password, just email me, call, and we'll get it to you. You could set up a time to do crafting as a congregation. You could get on there and you could do your craft and lead people through it, and everybody could do it together. And already we sort of dipped into an different energy, right? An energy of loving emotion. You could get on the Zoom account and you could create a theme, and you could tell stories based on that theme and have each person have time to tell a story. Keep a little timer because we're Unity people. We like to talk. But make it 3-4 minutes. And already you're evoking this energy of love and connection. And it's so easy to do. Work with a mantra. I mentioned a few weeks back that Einstein said, it's not that I'm so much smarter than everybody else. He said, I just stick with the problem solving. So apply that to a mantra and use your mantra. Go down to the ocean and sit there and say, inside, in your own mind, say, I'm one with the ocean. Or I'm one with the ocean of light. And just sit there by that ocean and feel those waves coming in, that breeze. Be with that mantra. You see, it's not very intellectual, but it helps us to tap into those deeper aspects of ourselves. I think a lot of times it's just laziness on our part, honestly. Because we have all these practices that help us to develop these deeper levels, but we stick with what is comfortable. And so we have to kind of break our mental habits and develop these emotional and spiritual habits, these other aspects of ourselves, and start to feed them every day. There's a wonderful psychologist named Ken Wilber. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's written the book Integral Psychology, Integral Spirituality. If you haven't checked him out, you should check him out. And he gives all these different practices based on these different aspects of our being so that we can become whole again. Physical nature, mental, spiritual, emotional, interpersonal, all these different aspects so that we become a whole being. So first we can start with tapping in with our emotions at this time. So second is we have this real opportunity to sort of clarify what have we been believing in our lives right now. What's the script that's been running? Because now we sort of calmed our mind a little bit with our emotions and we say, okay, what's behind the scenes? What is our belief system? Because our belief systems, honestly, are the fundamental energy that shape our experience in life. I mean, they're like the operating system. For example, if you grew up, say, in a really tropical environment and you didn't know anywhere else existed, you've never seen it or traveled anywhere else, your belief system might be, life is pretty warm. I live in the tropics, this is great. which would be nice right now. Or if you say, conversely, you grew up in the Arctic, and you'd never seen anywhere else, and you'd never traveled anywhere else, your belief system might be, life outside is pretty cool. This is just the way life is. But these are just relative truths, and if you travel to another location, you would have a totally different experience of life. This is, in a way, like a symbolic parable, because in this time when we're invited to stay at home, we can kind of begin to observe what is our belief system and realize that it's just a relative truth. There are total other experiences of life that we can have. And we might start to step back and say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that flowing through my consciousness on a daily basis was this feeling that there's not enough, or that life is hard, or maybe I have this feeling about myself, I'm not beautiful, or maybe I'm a victim and the world is against me, or maybe nobody understands me and I'm all alone, or maybe I can't be comfortable, or whatever our belief system is. When we start to kind of slow down and go within, that static in our life starts to clear, and we start to realize, oh my goodness, I've been feeling and believing this way for a really long time. This happens so much for people that go to different spiritual retreats. They realize, they start to get in touch with what they've been thinking and believing. And at this point, you can say, does this serve me? Does this bring about my highest good? And does it serve the world for me to walk around and say, I'm a victim and you're against me? And we can start to ask ourselves, what note am I adding to the symphony? Because the world, honestly, isn't as big as we once thought. And our ability to shape it, to shape the collective reality, is greater than we have ever realized. Just look at somebody like Greta Thunberg. One individual having that effect, speaking about climate change. We are really connected right now. So it's really important for us to basically weed the garden of our own minds at this time. And as we do that, it's like we shed these coats. We're like wearing a winter coat in the middle of the summer. You can do it, it just doesn't feel very comfortable. And you take that coat off and you say, oh my gosh, the entire experience of life has shifted. I can feel the breeze on my skin, and I can move around and have fun and express myself again. We have this opportunity right now to sort of shed these layers that we are wearing. And we get to this point, and we step back and we say, you know what? I'm tapping in with my emotions. I'm realizing these inveterate beliefs that I've got going on. And now I can sort of take responsibility for what is happening inside me. Because usually one of the ways we try to take our power back is through external means. It never really works. It helps out a little bit. And so sometimes we project and we blame and we go on the warpath. So right now we can say, oh, there it is. There's my belief. And we can reel it back in, and we can start to take responsibility and own our stuff. And we can say, oh, that's my belief. I'm seeing the whole world through those beliefs. Okay. And I can take responsibility for that and rewrite that script that's flowing through my mind every single day. Now, this is powerful work. And when we get to this level, we really start to dip into soul consciousness. Consciousness in us that simply just wants to be. And this gets also very close to unity consciousness. In Hinduism, the Hindus call the soul the self. It's our true self. In Buddhism, they call it the non-self. Doesn't really make a difference. One of them is expressing that energy of fullness. One of them is expressing emptiness. It's like the chicken and the egg. Which one came first? Fullness gives birth to the emptiness. The emptiness gives birth to the fullness. But as we go in, we get in touch with that level that just wants to be, that is so starved in us. And the mind, if you compare it to those car keys I just mentioned, you can get around in the dark with those car keys. You can find the lock, and you can get that key in there and open the door, and you can get to some wonderful places. But when we dip into the soul consciousness, it's like turning on the light. And then you can sort of step back and look at the whole room and enjoy everything in the room. You can get to that key easily and get out the door and go to the next room and enjoy it. And as we dip into that consciousness, everything in our life becomes alive, and we can appreciate it and see it. Sometimes I wish that people had an opportunity just to hang out with my grandpa. We call him Papa. But just to hang out with him for a day. He's no longer with us on the physical plane. But he was so into his soul. And what's interesting was, he's one of the smartest people I have ever met. But he didn't really even emphasize his mind all that much. He was a physician, and he used his mind real selectively, and he would go and treat patients and use his mind in that way, and then he'd be done. You know, I didn't see him reading a lot of books or magazines. I mean, you could do that, it's okay. But he just didn't clutter his mind with a lot else. Well, he would read comic books and stuff. But he would just get into the energy and the joy of life. He would exude that soul energy and that soul presence. And it's a deep truth in a way, because our minds are constantly occupied. If we take a break and spend time cultivating those other aspects, it improves our mind. Very interesting. Now, also I want to mention, at this point in time, you're kind of hanging back with your soul and you're feeling that energy. Reach out to other people. We have a big opportunity to do that right now, because we are sort of separate in our physical surroundings. So when we go into that soul consciousness, we start to connect in unity consciousness with all beings. And at this point, we start to see that there's really only one presence living in every single human being. And to me, that's the level we have to strive to reach unity, to go beyond prejudice, to go beyond corruption. We have to go to that level where it's the same one of us in every single individual, every single human being. There's only one presence and one power. So genuinely reach out at this time to other people. You know, we have all these opportunities. We've got Facebook Live, we've got YouTube Live, we've got FaceTime on our phones, we've got text. There are all these ways that we can reach out and tell people that we love them, that we care about them, that we're thinking about them. And honestly, we've got a chance to really build and cultivate and strengthen these relationships. You know, I mentioned we have the Zoom account here at church. You could get everybody together. Michelle just told me they had an art class yesterday. You could have an art class and you could paint. And you could do your painting and show people what you're doing. You could share it that way. You know, this is really your community. So how do you want to connect? How do you want to reach out? And remember that every single one of us is made in this image and likeness of God. So we have a real opportunity right now to feed that, to feed our soul. So I invite you at this time really to remember that this is an opportunity. First of all, to calm our minds, to go within, to sort of be with those emotions that we have that maybe have been backlogged, and to start examining those underlying beliefs that we have, and begin to reach out to other people. As we do that, we strengthen ourselves at all these different levels of our being. And we start to really use our time wisely here on this planet. Because in essence, there is just a one world family where it's one of us. And so I really invite you to step out and to feed that family. And to feed yourself emotionally and spiritually. Because our minds have had the floor for a long, long time. So let's come back into balance at this time. Come back into balance and really appreciate the beauty of life. So I'm sending you all love. God bless you. And so it is. Amen. So we just take this time to prepare for a time of meditation together. Wherever we may be, we just take a deep breath in. And we breathe that out. In this space, we simply tune into our hearts. We take a deep breath in, visualizing that breath going in our heart. And we breathe out of our heart. And with every breath that we take in, we energize ourselves with the light and the consciousness of God. And we begin to release any stress, any tension, any fear. In this space, we remember that there is a singular presence, the presence of light, the presence of healing energy, the presence of love that lies within us and around us everywhere. In this moment, we draw upon that consciousness, that energy. We invite it to fill us with incredible peace, incredible life and love. And we send that energy out to all of our loved ones. We send it out to all the healthcare professionals. We send it out to all those in positions of power and authority. We visualize them being divinely guided in what is theirs to do to uplift us. We send this love and this light out to anyone who may be affected by this virus. We visualize them being permeated with this tremendous, limitless light of God. We see this divine light bringing healing and wholeness in every cell and every atom of their body. We send it out to all living things. We hold the consciousness of worldwide wellness in our hearts. For we know that God is everywhere, omnipresent. In every particle of creation is the infinite power of God. God is waiting to burst forth through every living and non-living thing. God is there. And so we turn within in this moment in great love and great faith as we allow and we trust this presence of God to do its work in and through us. So as we hold this consciousness of wellness, wholeness for the entire world, I invite you to simply be for a few moments together with us in the silence. In the silence. So we just bring our attention back to our breath, to this beautiful space of love that we have created together. We go forward into our day and into our week with a renewed sense that God has got this. God is with us. We visualize this virus gently and quickly dissolving. We hold the thought and the awareness that this time is rapidly coming to an end. We visualize businesses starting and people reconnecting. And all the while, we continue to align ourselves with this amazing power, this amazing presence of love, divine love and healing light. And we are just so grateful for this presence in our life and for our awareness of it. And so wherever you are, if you'll say with me, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. So it is. Thank you, Reverend Jeffrey, for that powerful message. So we just want to welcome everybody who's joining us online. For those of you that know our service, they usually say that at this point. We just want to welcome everybody online and anybody who may be here for the first time. We just send you our love and we feel your presence. I can feel the people joining us online. It's a beautiful thing. And we're blessed to have this technology. So if this is your first time or even you're rejoining us, we want to just send this unity blessing out to you. So together we say, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity you are. Thank you so much for joining us. So at this time, I'd just like to invite Stephanie to come forward and prepare for her next song. We're going to prepare for our offering, and I just want to let you know there's 3 ways that you can do this. There may even be more, but you can go to our website, which is unityofsouthsound.org. Boy, I got into that message. And in the upper right-hand corner, there's a donate button on the homepage. It's orange. It's super easy to do. It's secure and simple. You click on it. You can make a one-time donation or an ongoing donation. 2, you can call our office, and again, the number is 253-301-0385. Leave a message, and we'll call you back. And you can make a donation that way, or you can just do the old-fashioned snail mail way. You know, it always works. Our address is super easy to remember. It's like 7-Eleven, but you subtract the number. So Unity of South Sounds on 710 South Anderson Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405. And so whether you're making your donation with something that's actually physically in your hand or if you do it online, I just invite you to hold that in your hand or in your heart. And we're going to say our offering affirmation together. So if you'll join me in saying this. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God.
in my life. I can't with devil on my side. I can't think you I can't help it on my knees. It's a miracle. It is easy how your love it works on me. It works on me. It is easy how your love it works on me. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. And me, like rain in the night. And me, speak my and burning bright. And me, and so my favorite thing. And me, yeah, and call me by my name. It's a miracle. Deep, easy, how your love it works on me. It works on me. Deep, easy, how your love it works on me. Love, 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 it's a miracle. Deep, easy, how your love it works on me. It works on me. Deep, easy, how your love it works on me. It's a miracle. Deep, easy, how your love it works on me. It works on me. Deep, easy, how your love it works on me.
Thank you, Stephanie. Feeling it working on me. So we've got several announcements for you this morning. If you would like to keep up to date on our services, our events, please sign up for our e-blast. It's really easy to do. It's our online newsletter, and you just go to our website, and there's a tab in the upper right that just says newsletter sign up. So you just click on that, fill out your information. It's secure, easy to do, and you'll be on board for the e-blast. So as I mentioned in my message, we've got a Zoom account as a church, and just to connect us together, we did this. And so if you would like to have a meeting, or you'd like to kind of gather your group together to connect, just use our username and password. And if you don't have it again, just call the office or email me. I'd be happy to give that to you so that we can stay connected. So our Unity Pledge Drive, we have finally completed this after 4 weeks. Our goal was $190,500 to fund our 2020 vision. And just to give you an example, sometimes people don't always fill out the form, but they're still contributing. So those that filled out the form, it was about $61,630. So we're quite a bit lower than we would like to be. That's about a third of what we were intending to raise. But again, not all of this reflects how much is being given. So having said that, we are entirely supported by your funding. And so we really just reaching out, just asking for your support at this time. And it's so easy to do. If you'd like a pledge form, you can email us. We'd be happy to send you one, and we can make this happen. So you can also, again, go online and contribute that way. You can go to the donate button. There's so many ways to do it. So email us, call us, go online. We will just be so grateful for your support. And we do need it at this time, since we don't have all your smiling faces sitting here in church. So we just affirm abundance and we go forward with that consciousness. And thank you for everything that you have given during this pledge drive. So the Youth Recycling fundraiser, I think I made an error last week. It has been rescheduled to June 7th. And this is all to support our kids who are going to camp. It's basically spring cleaning. So if you've got any soft goods, it could be clothing or shoes or bedding, or if you've got household goods like books or toys, take those out of your closets and get them ready to bring up here. I would say you could bring them up during the week, but now that we're stationary at our homes, I would say to just hang on to them until the day of. And that's again June 7th, and we'll have a truck here. And I'm just affirming by that time Corona is gone. So we won't even have to do our social distancing at that time, and we'll load that truck. So all of this stuff goes to a wonderful cause to support our kids in going to camp. So hang on to that stuff. Finally, our Easter service, just due to our staying at home order, we are working hard to plan that and get some creative ideas. We'll have some fun music, I'm sure. So just stay tuned for what we share with you about that service. And if we have to do it online, we will, and we'll just have a great time connecting. So I want to conclude by saying, if you need prayer this time, we have a You Pray app that's available through unity.org. You can get that. We also have, as always, our Silent Unity 24/7 prayer ministry, and that is 1-800-NOW-PRAY. So if you need prayer at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can call and get somebody online to pray with you. Also, if you'd like prayer, you can email our office with a prayer request, office@unityofsouthsound.org. So at this time, we're going to shift, and even though our youth are not here physically, I know you're all with us. Many of you are probably tuning in online, and we would like to send our blessings to you because you are our future. So to our youth and our teachers and to Jennifer, let's give our unity blessing. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity you are. All right, so now I just invite you wherever you may be to stand and join us in singing the peace song. If you want to hold your hands high, you can do so, and we send our love and our blessings and peace to the Holy Spirit. Let's do it together. The
light of God surrounds me. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love of God. The power of God protects me. I am the power of God. And the presence of God watches over me. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you online next week, same time, same place. God bless you.